Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled November 9th meeting of the Goffstown Sewer Commission. We will begin with introductions as we normally do, and I'll start with Lynn.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
David Pierce, Sewer Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Daniel Taylor, Commissioner.
Chet Bowen, Select Board Rep.
Danielle Basara, Finance Director.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. The first thing we always do is we have a public comment session, so I will ask if there's anyone who is here for public comment. We'll open the public hearing if anyone is here for public comment.
I don't see anybody in the room, Mr. Chair. Recommend we go ahead.
Well, thank you for that, David. I don't know if I could have got there on my own. But I'll take your advice.
Making sure you're alert. Yeah.
Did you get up at 4 o'clock this morning?
Yes, I did. I thought it was 5.
So so we have no public comment, so we'll move on to the next item, which is the approval of minutes from our October 5th, 2021 meeting. Has anyone had a chance to read it and review it?
Well, I've read the minutes. They're fairly accurate, so I'd like to make a motion that approve the minutes of 5 October.
I've also read them, so I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made to approve the minutes as presented and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the 2022 budget vote to correct the budget for CIP and the Elm Street pump station bidding. Mike is supposed to speak to the Elm Street pump station bidding, but we can begin with the corrected CIP. I will inform the commissioners that I went to the selectmen's budget hearing, and unfortunately we had a little miscommunication, and the sheet that Lynn and I and other commissioners was working off of was different than what the municipal sheets were. So there was some corrections that need to be made. We need a vote on the corrections tonight so that the sheets can be corrected and sent on to the budget, to the selectmen, and to the budget committee. So at this time, I will turn it over to Danielle, and I will ask, before Danielle starts, what are we looking at in front of us right here, right now, Lynn?
I printed out the one you wanted, but then Danielle and I got together and kind of combined the two, so this is,
So
she'll
this will be
explain
the
it to
corrected
you.
version.
It has everything on it, so I can start by walking you through it.
Okay, so please take over, Danielle.
So the sheet that you have in front of you, to the left you have the budget document that you were working off of during your budget workshops. There's a column that's headed as 2022 budget for the Sewer Commission approved at 10/5/21. Those were the numbers that you had actually taken your motion on originally. And then there's the notes from that spreadsheet. We just merged that with the spreadsheet that Finance had. The column to the right of that has the 2022 budget that was presented at the joint meeting with the Select Board and the Budget Committee on October 18th.
So that's the column they were looking at.
That's the column they were
We were
looking
looking
at.
at the first column.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the reason there were differences, there were a few different things, calculations, additional rates that had come in for insurances that at the time of your meeting we hadn't received the rates, but those rates came in mid-October, so Finance incorporated those. Additionally, at your meeting on the 5th, you had voted to add a position or propose a position for 3/4 of the year, so Finance had included those numbers in the budget sheets that went forward.
So the proposed position as it stands in this revised is a 9-month,
9 month, yep,
9-month
3/4 of the
proposal
year.
at this time.
Yes.
Thank you, Danielle.
So Danielle, on the first set of line items, the two big changes were regular wages.
I think I'll ask everyone to silence their phones before we do anything else.
And so yes, it went from what we had previously discussed, 54 up to 85,000. And then there's a midway through the chart, benefits went
Yes.
from 0 to 75,000.
Yes, when the numbers were originally provided from our benefits administrator to Lynn, the numbers didn't include the benefit calculation for the year for any of the positions. So Lynn had put in a placeholder of 0 and had highlighted that field as one that would be returned to once the numbers were provided by finance. So that number you see is the majority of the difference, the $75,000, which is including benefits for all existing positions as well as benefits for the 9-month position.
Let me just ask you, where is the 75 is line, the benefits line?
The benefits line, it's about 6 or 7 down from the top of the sheet in that first section.
It's
Ending in
32600043110.
Yeah.
So could you explain to us what the benefits are that add up to almost $76,000?
Yep, so this includes health benefits, dental. It also includes short-term, long-term, and life insurance for all of your full-time members. So that's going to include both Lynn and Corey, as well 90% of Corey, and then 10% of
Jeff.
the engineer, Jeff Wright.
And the new position.
And then the new position, 9 months, being
Well, now I'm confused because Corey's regular wages are in the next section. Doesn't he have a separate benefits line in his section?
He does not, actually. When we took a look, the benefits line actually is combined and only ever tracked under administration.
All right, so that's why it's such a big number,
Yes.
because it traps 3 employees, not the 2 that are in
Exactly.
the administration's
Yes,
proposal.
correct.
Thank you. Does benefits, that's not retirement though, that's
Nope,
just...
that's just the insurance benefits. The retirement is tracked on a separate line, and you'll see that in each respective section, the same as you see the taxes.
Now, what is the present policy for the town of Goffstown for benefits? Is there cost sharing among the employees with the town?
Yes.
What is that number?
It depends on which plan they take. The majority of the plans, the employee pays 15.5%,
Okay,
and the town pays the remainder.
thank you very much. That's good to be on the record so people understand about benefits, and it's not all being paid for by the town, the employees are
Correct.
paying in.
Mhm.
Thank you. So the first whole section is basically a revision of the wages for the part-time proposed employee, or the full-time proposed employee at 9 months, plus Lynn, plus the, an error discovered in wage calculations for the retirement. And this new sheet will be in line with the Munis sheets that the Board of Selectmen was looking at the first time?
Yes. That column
And-
that you see in green is what we're proposing to be on the sheets that they're gonna receive. We
Okay.
haven't provided them a sheet in between the 10/18 meeting and now, because we wanted you to have a chance to review that and make your motions before we brought it forward.
Okay, Commissioners, you have any questions for Danielle on this first section we've been talking about?
Property insurance, that's also in this.
Mhm.
Did we just miss it, or we just didn't have that number last time?
Yeah, Lynn ended up putting in a 0 again as a placeholder. We were waiting for the insurance rates to be announced. Last year, if you look at your 21 appropriation, it was 5,200, and now with new rates and additional coverages, the rate's now 5,912. And they did indicate that a lot of the cost increase that we were seeing on our property insurance is related to the reinsurance rates and the technology, which also gets wrapped into our property and liability insurance.
So by these numbers, you're saying that we're not waiting for anything else to come in for revision? These are going to be the numbers we're going to
Final
run with?
numbers.
Thank you. Any other questions for Danielle on the first section here? All right, Danielle, I'll let you move on to the second section.
So the second section, we've had a handful of changes. We had some errors in the wage calculation that were discovered later in the month and captured as part of the budget that went forward to the Select Board and the Budget Committee on the 18th. So as you can see, it actually lowers those numbers that are in red, actually dropped a little bit when we discovered that. And then the increases were primarily related to the insurance rates getting plugged in once we had those new numbers.
Okay.
And then in that same section, we have the CIP project.
Let's go to the red one, the VACON vendor to clean the lines. That's just a description we were...
That's just a description,
Okay.
so we kept
Okay,
that
and what
the
is the last one then?
Denise.
Bernice?
Yep, Grenice contract.
Yeah, that turned into a real, almost embarrassment at the meeting, because here I am telling the Board of Selectmen that we signed a contract for $861,000, but we only budgeted $645. So technically, within our rights, we couldn't withdraw funds from our capital reserve through the trustees of the fund. We don't necessarily have to report that, but I think as for openness, I think it's good that we're reporting that how we're gonna have a revenue source to make up the difference. So I'll let Danielle finish that.
So what we're actually proposing at this point is encumbering the funds, because you had that same dollar amount approved in your 2021 budget. And so normally the sewer commission doesn't do a lot of encumbrances because your money just rolls from year to year. It doesn't go into a fund balance the same way that the town's general fund does. But in this case, because there's a signed contract, I thought it would be best to recommend that the full amount of that line get encumbered, and then that would allow you to reduce your 22 budget to only be the difference between what was encumbered and what the contract total is.
Commissioners, I'd like your input on Danielle's suggestion. Start with you, David, your vice chair.
I agree to, the
Recommendation?
good to encumber the present budget for the capital improvement project and only budget for the delta
All right.
for next year.
I wish Corey was here, because I don't know if we have any other thing else in CIP for 22 other than the Phase 2 on Louis Street. I think that was the only thing that we had for 22.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to worry about something sneaking in the back door on us.
No.
And we intended that to be half of it be this year and half of it to be next year's budget, so this where it rolls into next year's.
So when I present to the Budget Committee, this is how we're going to present how we're paying for this and how it's going to work out.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Danielle from the commissioners? Okay.
Sure.
Are we,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, should we encumber that this evening or in December? Doesn't make any difference.
If you make your vote this evening, then Lynn can go ahead and enter the PO, and we'll get it captured in the system so we don't forget about it as we get into the rush of the year end.
I think you can make that motion you would like to make, Dave.
And so it's the 645, 484 number.
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we encumber $645,484 in line 32610000 for the purposes of a Grenice contract, work to be done in 22.
I will second that.
Motion's been made to encumber the 645-484 for the contract we signed with Bernice by David, seconded by Daniel. Any discussion in the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes. Lynn, right away here, I think there's a line that needs to be corrected. Under the sewer operations, the diesel fuel, if you follow that across to the note, it is not for the backup generator. That diesel fuel is for the vehicles.
I thought the,
One has to be for the vehicles and one for the backup generator.
okay, well,
So
that's
the-
just my own note, but I'll put
So
that
the
on
one for the
there.
pump station is where we have our diesel generator.
Okay,
So that would be noted for the backup
Okay.
generator.
so this one is for the truck,
Yeah, that's for the vehicles. We used to use that for the VACON
okay,
as well as the pickup truck,
okay.
but I think we leave it just alone for now. It's just a small amount, but it's for the sewer foreman's vehicle.
Okay, I'll just change that, no, nobody sees that, but.
Well,
so
we
I'll
should
fix
have it because
though.
when I go to speak, I want to make sure I speak
Yeah, no, I'll
to
replace,
the line and be able to explain which line does what.
yep, no, I'll change that.
1,500 is truck.
Yes, it is, sir.
And, excuse me, where's the generator?
Down.
It's in the next section down, Dave. It's
Okay,
the
cool.
third from the bottom.
We'll get there then.
Well, there are no changes to that section, so
5323.
I see it.
Okay.
I just wanted to correct the note in the note section, because we were there. So, with the votes we've taken, does this satisfy the requirements for us to move forward with a corrected budget? For you to submit these sheets to the Board of Selectmen as they requested?
Yeah.
And to the Budget Committee?
Yes, absolutely. If the commission is ready, then the numbers you see in that green column will be the final budget that moves forward. So you're, from the budget that they saw originally to what's moving forward is a decrease in the overall budget, so that will actually help.
Do they have to do a motion to accept this new figure, or are they okay?
You know, we made motions for the amendments to it, so
Right.
we already voted to adopt the budget. We made motions to amend some of the lines, so I think the motion has been made and done. So when we have to go to the budget meeting now, would you please supply Lynn with munis sheets for
So,
me to
yeah.
read from? I'll have this,
Yes,
but I want to be able to use the munis sheets, because that's what the selectmen and the board budget committee are using, and I want to be able to have them follow along
absolutely.
on the same format that I'm speaking at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I'll make
great.
sure she has them.
Great.
I was gonna ask.
Dave?
Chair, was there any discussion in your meetings about the 3/4 of a position we're adding into this budget?
How do you mean that question?
No, I mean, was there any feedback from other participants about adding the position?
At this point, there is no feedback, because at the meeting that night, they generally just accept all the budget numbers, and it's for initial review. It goes on for further discussion with the budget committee when we present to them, and then the budget committee and the select board obviously you've been a selectman, you know, you get together and you discuss it with the budget committee, correct? Selectman Bowen?
Yep.
Okay. That's one of the reasons why we have another item on our agenda, which was the list of tasks. I'll move to that. We can talk about that later. But in order to support the position, I asked Corey to produce a list of tasks, which we'll discuss further on into the meeting. But it's in support of the budget request for another position. Any other questions go ahead, Danielle.
The only other thing I wanted to make sure I run by you is for the presentation to the budget committee.
Yes.
They've revised their meeting schedule, so the next two dates they have are November 18th and November 23rd. Looking ahead at the calendar, I noticed November 18th is the same night as a planning board meeting.
Yeah.
So I was thinking perhaps you'd be able to present at the 11/23 meeting.
What
That's a
day of the week is the
Tuesday.
23rd?
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, I can do that. That's not going to interfere
It's a
with going
Tuesday
anywhere
before
for Thanksgiving.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Is that
So
acceptable?
I would be fine to go that night. Can you do that night, Lynn? Okay.
Okay. I'll make sure I let the chairman know that
So it's
We can get
November
you on the agenda.
23rd?
November 23rd, 7 p.m. at the Goffstown High School Media Center.
Do you know of how they formulate the agenda for that meeting?
I can speak with the chair. It's pretty much just the chair and I who discuss the order of the meeting, so
If there are large departments that same night, could we make a formal request to be early on?
Sure.
So that we could do our 10-minute speech and get out of there and
sure,
not have to wade through a public works budget or a fire budget or a police budget?
sure. I can definitely
appreciate-
work with
we
the
would
chair on
appreciate that.
scheduling that.
I have one question before we
Go ahead.
finish amending this. With regard to the new position, this just came into my mind. What about vehicle use?
We're going to talk about that
Okay.
beyond this.
Okay.
Because we have discretionary spending within our budget. We could purchase a used vehicle. We can do different things. You might even be able to purchase one of the used DPW vehicles when they get their new vehicles. So,
And again, those monies potentially being added outside of the budget process, if it's a decision that's made once the person's on board and you know what's happening with the position, you could utilize some of those funds either within the budget, or you could utilize some of the capital reserve funds that the trustees are holding.
right. So we will be able to move on
That's
that, Daniel.
a good point, Daniel, because when I read this list of potential duties,
Yeah.
Well, I had already had
I
that.
kept thinking, he's got to have independent vehicle.
I had already had that on my mind for discussion item. Because I know he can't walk from the sewer pump station to the sewer pump station. And he's certainly not going to use the person's not going to use their own vehicle. Okay. So, before you leave, Danielle, Mike Trank is here. The other item that we needed to discuss to make sure we are correctly showing is the, didn't we have the money for the Elm Street pump station in the budget somewhere here?
Yeah, it's the,
It's the very last line.
yeah, the very
The
last
pump station
one.
upgrade number?
Very bottom.
And we increased that to 600,000, which we're moving forward with. And I asked Lynn to contact Mike to find out if we were still on solid ground with that number, so I hope Mike is here to speak to that number, please.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
That is fine.
So that number will be okay, we can move forward with that number?
Yeah, and my response to Lynn, I just noted that that includes contingencies, and it also includes bidding and construction phase engineering services as well.
And if we have any cost overruns that it would go beyond that, we still have our discretionary funds that we can utilize in the case of something like that.
Yes.
But this is, in the engineer's opinion, the appropriate amount of money to get this project done.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mike, for reviewing those numbers. And thank you, Lynn, for getting in touch with them.
I just have a question for you, Danielle. Where does, like, if we get a new vehicle, where do you pay, where in the budget does registration and all that stuff fall?
So you don't pay for registration of the vehicle as a municipal vehicle.
Okay.
The insurance would get added, but the cost impact doesn't hit until the following year.
Okay.
And as far as the purchase of the vehicle itself, you don't have it as one of your regular lines, but there is a line for vehicle. It's the object number is for vehicle specifically. So we would add that in. And so even if the line's budgeted as 0, you would see the actual cost recorded in that line so we can properly track
Okay.
what type of financial it is.
Okay.
What
thank you.
line is that one you're speaking about, Danielle?
It's not
not
on
shown
here
there
at
yet.
all.
Oh, it's not there yet.
It's
Okay.
a line that's, she can add in.
We can add in, okay.
Yeah, it's only used when you're actually making a purchase. So when Lynn pulled the budget from this year, there was no activity in that account.
And we
That's
had no
fine.
idea if we were gonna get a vehicle or anything,
Yeah.
so,
Okay. But we have our bases covered at
right,
this
we can
point.
get it, we just show the actual charges, so the following year we would know
Thank you, Lynn.
what to do with it.
Thank you, Danielle. Anything else for Danielle so she can go home? Seeing nothing, I thank you, Danielle, for staying late.
Thank you.
Staying with our meeting for us
You're
and
welcome.
being so helpful to get this squared away.
No problem. Thank you very much.
So, we'll see Lynn and I will be at this budget meeting in November.
I'll remind you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, budget thing cleared up.
Good night.
We have some old business this evening. It is a structural evaluation of the pump stations. It's a final report. And we have a memorandum in front of us from Mike Trank. And I would like Mike to begin by explaining what we have in front of us.
Well, actually, you're skipping, we had Elm Street Pump Station bidding was before that.
Oh, I thought that's what we were talking about with Mike with the Elm Street.
No, he had asked me to put that on the,
Oh, I apologize. Mike, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I asked Lynn to put that on the agenda or for discussion as to whether you want to move forward with getting that out to bid for construction and what you might feel the timing, the appropriate timing for that would be.
Commissioners?
Well, Mike, it's best to get the bidding started sooner than later, right?
I concur.
It's actually a good time of year. Yeah, because if you bid it, say, November, December, January timeframe, then that'll be lined up for spring start.
And what's the recommendation on the start date then?
At this point, probably spring. Maybe the materials availability will be better then too. Given
Lynn,
the
this
supply
is it.
chain issues.
Our hands aren't tied by the March ballot on budget, is it?
no, well, No, not really. I mean, that's when it's accepted, but we can, I wouldn't worry about that.
Well, I concur with David's evaluation. I think it is important that we get it started. Daniel, do you have a?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So, what do you need from us, Mike, at this point?
Um,
Do you need a motion?
Our contract for engineering services only covered design. It didn't cover any bidding or construction phase. So I could get you a proposal just for the bidding part of it. And that could either be done as a separate contract or as an amendment to the design contract. But I can get that to you so we can get things rolling.
Whichever works easier. If it becomes an amendment to the design contract, and if it's easier, do it. If it's easier to do as a separate, just make it happen and let's get it done. We don't have to tell you which avenue to follow, because you get the
Yeah.
same result in the end.
Right, true.
So if it's an amendment to the design contract, it's still part of an overall package, and maybe that would be keeping it all under one umbrella.
Administratively, we can't vote on that then till December. Don't you want to get started sooner? With-
It's up to you folks.
Can we have a vote this evening to authorize the chair to sign the contract? And that way, if Mike can get a contract together in the next day or two, I can be authorized to sign it, and then that way you can move forward immediately with this? Would that suffice, Dave? Okay.
Then, Mr. Chair, a motion to allow you to change an existing, put a change order in on an existing contract to have Hoyle Tanner provide engineering services for the release of a bid, the Elm Street pump station.
Daniel?
I will second that.
Motion been made and seconded to authorize the chair to sign an amendment to the contract to create a bidding document for Hoyle Tanner. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it passes. So Mike, if you can get that document, I want you to send it through Lynn so that it's at her office. She will let me know when she has it, and we have a signing system where we get papers shuffled. If I can't be in, it gets picked up and Lynn gets signed and it gets back to Lynn.
Okay.
As long as I've been on the board, we've been talking about the Elm Street pump station so much, I think it's all done, but, you know, just getting started on the bidding.
We're getting closer every
Yes.
meeting. All right, so does that satisfy the Elm Street pump station bidding line item on our agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so you can move on to the structural evaluation of the pump stations.
Yep. We had provided a technical memorandum previously with the results of our structural evaluations of the East Union Street pump station, the Elm Street pump station, and the Riverview Park pump station. As part of our contract, our scope of services included providing, as part of the deliverable, estimate of cost, opinion of cost for doing those repairs. And that was not included in the technical memorandum that was provided previously. So it's been updated. There's really no changes to the body or text of the memorandum. Opinion of cost was added, and those are the two attachments at the end. So it's summarized there, and there's an opinion of cost and an allowance of 10% for contingencies. That is for the Riverview Park pump station and East Union Street pump station. We didn't include Elm Street pump station because the recommended repairs have already been incorporated into the plans and specs for that project. And that's already included as part of the opinion of cost for that project.
I think the commissioners can review these numbers, and we can discuss them at our next meeting. Would that be satisfactory, David and Daniel?
Yeah. So I guess I would only add that we're providing this as our final deliverable for this project. So if there's, obviously if there's questions or concerns or comments or anything,
Well,
then we'll address that.
be prepared to prepare documents for bidding and the package, like we've been doing right along. We want Oil Tanner, I'm sure, to put this out to bid for us. And so,
Oh, okay.
I don't know why we wouldn't. We don't have it do it full time, so I would assume that we would ask the engineering firm to put this out to bid for us.
Okay.
That way you can vet the bidders,
I'll get you a proposal for that.
you know, after we review at the next meeting.
Okay.
I guess my looking at the East Union, which is predominantly roof
And veneer.
issues, I'm surprised, Mike, to me, those values are low, considering the complexity of repairing a roof.
Well, they came from our structural group, and
They tend not to underestimate. So, and plus the veneer and the CMU replacement, that's fairly involved, because if you look at that little purple panel that has to be removed, that veneer's got to be removed, that's a fair amount of work. And repair the CMU behind it before they can reinstall the veneer. And this, Mike, this estimate for the East Union Pump Station, is that to replace all the roofs on all the structures down there, or only the one roof over the one part that's...
I think it was just the one roof.
Yes, it was the roof of the 1950 era
Yeah, I think so.
portion of the building.
Well, what we can do is we can work with Hoyle Tanner on finding a roofing vendor to do this. And should we decide we want to add to the project, we can get a bid for the main roof work, and we can do amendments to the contract if we want to add roofing for any other parts of the building while they're there, because...
I did get an email from Corey 2 weeks ago or so, and he mentioned that there's another leak.
On another roof,
Yeah, I think so.
a different roof.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't think anybody in our firm has
Let's
seen
get the
it.
vendor to, we've got the numbers for the main building. Let's get the vendor bid online. If we choose to have you amend the bid to include all roofing for all the structures down there, we can amend that at the time. But for now, we can move forward what we have and not muck up the works at this point.
Good.
If the other roofs need to be done, we should just get a package deal on the whole thing and have all the roofs renewed. That way we know that they're all gonna have the same lifespan, not 25 on this one and 15 on that one and 10 on that one over there.
Okay.
So does anybody have any questions, or should we review these and we'll speak at our next meeting about these engineering estimates we have?
I'm all set.
Are you all set, David? Thank you, Daniel. Okay, and then the second item is the Louis Street sewer replacement status update. I have something to report, Mike, before you start. In preparation for tonight's meeting, I called DPW Director Adam Jacobs and spoke with him. I advised him that we have a contract and a starting date of April 4th tentatively with them, and I wanted to make sure that he was going to order his structures and pipe and have all his stuff in-house before April the 4th for the Louis Street, because he's supplying structures and drainage materials for these phase 2 on Louis. I also asked him, was he interested in getting a price for the drainage on phase 1, which he is interested. He asked me for contact information for Grenice and Son, and I told him I would speak to the commissioners and yourself at the meeting tonight, because with us as the primary contract, they have a contract with us, the sewer commissioners. It might not be advisable for the DPW director to talk to them directly. Might be advisable for him to supply a marked up plan with the drainage on this first phase that he would like a price on with structures and then we can submit it to them and get a bid on their behalf. Because it would be an amendment to our contract, not a separate contract. Am I walking in the right direction right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, I'll get Adam to get, Eric to pull the plan for Louis Street. And I'll have Eric mark up phase 1 drainage to add to the phase 2 drainage. And we can then submit that marked up plan via your office to Grenice for estimating purposes, and we'll see if they're interested in pricing the phase 1 drainage as part of a total package for the whole road.
Sure.
It works best, and I'll tell you why, because we are gonna have a major impact on that neighborhood, and it'd be nice if we could do and David's already spoken to this, it'd be nice if we do the whole project in a finite amount of time, and then we split the cost of the paving with the Public Works Department, and when it's done, it's done. We're not patching and going back and digging up and going back and disturbing the neighbors more than we have already. DPW has stated that they will have Eric Gustafson go out with the town's GIS equipment, and we will find approximate property locations in front of the houses. I saved your letter to follow up on your letter, because we do need to warn the residents of the upcoming project. So we might think about getting that letter out after our next commission meeting.
We'll review that for a final time in
Thank you.
December.
Thank you. And we'll get that out, and maybe before the snow flies, we could even get Eric to go out and do the GIS locations for us to show people where their front yards are and where this is gonna happen, so that they've been thoroughly forewarned and it doesn't turn into a battle royale down there, because it's gonna be very involved.
And I might try to accompany Eric.
I would
just so
appreciate that, because you have the
Yeah.
daytime availability
Yes, I do.
where I don't at this time. So I will make sure that you are looped in with Eric for when he has some idea of when he might be going out there. Okay, now I'm sorry to step on your toes, Mike. You can go
No
ahead and
problem.
move forward.
No problem, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to provide a status update. All of the contract documents for the construction contract between the Sewer Commission and Grenice and Sons have been fully signed, executed, and bound into a contract set. There's a hard copy set here, which I told Lynn I would bring in, but I've already sent a PDF of the specifications with the signed documents in it, as well as the drawings. So that's available electronically as well.
Well, at least we have a hard copy to keep in the sewer office for anybody who might want to come in and see it. Concerned neighbors, concerned citizens, sewer rate users, anybody who wants to see it, we have a hard copy, and that way it'll be available through your office, Lynn.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that the contractor has started sending us shop drawing submittals, because they want to get that all taken care of in advance, so they don't have to worry about it. Their primary concern, I think, is material supply, although I think they're pretty comfortable that, they'll definitely have all the materials they need, but they wanted to make sure that all of the shop drawing submittals required were reviewed and approved.
They'll probably buy sewer pipe in the middle of the winter and stack it away for the project, I'm sure they will. I don't think they're gonna wait until April 1st to order the sewer pipe for that job. And 1,200 feet of sewer pipe is not a large order by comparison to what some other projects are.
Yeah.
Adam, that's why I kinda wanted Adam to get on the ball with his drainage pipe, because his HDPE pipe has to also be ordered and delivered prior to that start date. And should they decide to do everything, they're gonna have to decide which is deeper and which has to be done first. They may have to do the drainage before they do the sewer, because if the drainage is lower than the sewer, in some places, they have to put the lower pipes in before they can put the over pipes in. So that's up to Greenies. Go ahead.
The bid included prices for catch basins.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Mike addressed that. Remember Greenies put in pricing for the seed catch basins and pipe, because he thought he was supplying that materials.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be backing some of those numbers out, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And that can be done with a change order, that's.
Right,
not a
but
big deal.
it is, Daniel makes a good point, because we talked with Bernice about this when we did our video chat, that we talked about that, you know, he was not to include the pipe and the catch basin structures at DPW, because he thought he was supplying all those materials.
Yeah.
We'll review the sheet with you, and you'll see what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's a good point, Daniel, thank you. Anything else?
That's all I had.
Good, I appreciate you stepping up, David, because we do need to make sure we get this GIS thing and the information to these people before the snow flies. I don't want to wait until after the snow melts before we're out there looking for pins and corners and that kind of stuff. It'd be very difficult.
You've arranged for snow not to occur in December.
I've been outside doing the snow go-away dance.
I didn't realize your powers.
Well, I got a little Indian in me somewhere. Okay.
My recommendation would to not try to locate pins, just to do an offset from like the sewer alignment.
Well, the town's GIS has approximate property line locations in their database based on found pins, found monuments, different things. David knows more about the GIS than most of us do here. So David, why don't you let us know what they work off of, please?
I just don't want citizens to think we're surveying.
No, that's going to be made very
That
clear.
comes and bites us.
Well, see, we're not surveying because we're showing them their own pins that are in place. We're not placing any pins or any markers. We're showing them where found markers are that represent their property line based on their plot plan, not something we're putting in.
Right, but if we're wrong and we're not surveyors, that pin doesn't necessarily, because you're not a surveyor, you can't say that pin is their property.
I think they're using old maps, old data maps, which means this is the data that's available to us, and this is where the assumed property corner is. I don't think we're going to represent ourselves as surveyors, not by any stretch of imagination, because we're not.
No.
And we don't want to pay for a full survey because it's not necessary.
Right.
The biggest problem down there, Daniel, is that people have stone walls, trees, all kinds of plantings and structures that are in the public right-of-way that are probably directly on top of the sewer line. And when the 345 cat goes through there, there's not much of that left. And we're talking of, and it's in the contract with Grenice to move that stuff back and relocate it, but we have to know where it would be relocated prior to digging the sewer line, because that's part of their contract to relocate some of that stuff. Am I speaking correctly, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Corey, unfortunately, is on the front line of those discussions with the homeowners.
Well, you know, he does a good job of it, and he'll be fine. He'll handle it professionally and keep everybody mostly happy. He'll never keep everybody always happy. Okay. We have an AP warrant to discuss. Other business that warranted, I have one item. There is a renewed push for the Factory Street project. A developer is asking for some changes at the planning board level, which will include, if we have been advised correctly by planning staff, an underground parking garage under one of the buildings, which will require significant blasting. My main concern is the line from the village to the East Union Pump Station runs through that property. We have an easement that runs within 10 or 15 feet of the building and in the vicinity of where new buildings are going to be built. I have requested, and I think Dave also was at the meeting, that the Sewer Commission be looped into any discussions that are going to regard changes there, because that sewer line is a major consideration in my book.
So, Mr. Chair, at the technical review committee a week and a half ago here at the town hall, the project engineer was here, the developer of the project was here. I mentioned the concern we have on blasting close to the sewer line, and that he should be prepared to address that risk when he makes a presentation to the planning board.
Okay, I think that you may have gone a little astray because the planning board is not making decisions on blasting in the sewer line. The sewer commission makes decisions on blasting. So making that presentation to the planning board is only just a cursory discussion. He's still going to be required to come before the sewer commission to discuss this. Because in my mind, without even hearing from this applicant, I want a guarantee that that sewer line will run throughout the entire duration of that project. And if that means prior to any blasting, they have to set up a above manhole to lower manhole bypass pump line that has to be set up and either operational or ready to turn on if that sewer line is breached with any blasting. Second thing I would want is at the conclusion of the blasting and the conclusion of the parking garage, that line is paid for by the applicant, the landowner, is cameraed and checked for damage or defects from the blasting itself. We don't know if the line is going to get bulged or if there's going to be a piece of rock through it, but there's going to be several conditions that I feel would be significant concerns for this commission, because there's no way that if they're blasting and they sever that main line, in an hour the village is going to be boiling up in the basement of the town hall. Oil's going to be coming out of the toilets. So this has to be an aggressive plan prior to the first hole being drilled for any blasting that's going to go on over there. And that's just my opinion, because I've been in this business for 50 years and I know what can happen, and I know what happens oftentimes when people are blasting.
So the backup contingency has to be in place.
Prior to the first drill hole being put in the ground.
These conditions, I'm feeling, they have to be expressed to the project engineer soon here, rather than at the next planning board saying, you know, dear engineer, you have to come to the next sewer commission.
I think that'd be a good invitation then. I think they should be here. Because if they are going to present this to the planning board and get an approval for this prior to anything being done, the sewer commission has to sign off on the methodology for protecting the sewer line and protecting the line that runs from the village and all of the village area to the pump station on East Union Street. Okay? That's just my one-person thought. So we can't wait for the line to be breached. We have to have a plan in place prior to the possibility of it being breached. I don't know the flow there. We could ask Corey what the flow is. I don't even know what kind of pipe is in the ground over there. Corey could advise us on all that. He has all that data in his database. So, if it's appropriate to invite the engineer to the next commissioners meeting, I think we should reach out to them. David, would you like to handle that invitation, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. And if they have an idea where the blasting may be occurring in relation to the sewer line, that would be a good thing to know if they're going to want to do that. Okay. Any other business for this commission tonight from any member of our group here tonight? I'm sorry, David?
We discussed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about that, thank you, it wasn't on my list, I forgot. The only thing I have left to do at East Union Pump Station is provide the Board of Selectmen with a sign package for the parking. I have not done that as yet. I've been to Conservation, just things kind of got out of hand and busy, so I am going to mark up the plans for the striping of the parking area and the positioning of our signs for the parking there, so that we can get a final check off from the Board of Selectmen on that. And I'll be getting that, and I guess I should bring that to the meeting here for everyone to look at. So I'll have that for the December meeting. Lynn, could you put that on the agenda? Can you make your agenda up?
That date is.
Excuse me.
December's meeting is December 14th.
So I'll have a marked up plan for the signage for the East Union parking.
The gate won't be locked until all of the
The
sign
gate
package
is
and
being left
striping.
open, yes, the gate is being left open in the interim. Because Corey and I still have to go down there and do the repairs with the erosion stone. And we're running out of time, so hopefully him and I can get that
We,
done.
we have some slack time because the tourists aren't down on the beach
Well, good.
in the season.
Good, glad to hear that. All right, now, the list of tasks, David, you mentioned that I forgot to bring up. This was my request from Corey, because in order to justify a full-time position, I wanted to make sure that when we were asked, what would this person be doing, this is what the list encumbers. So, everyone knows, I'll just read them off, we'll go through them one at a time. The daily flow meter reading. A lot of this has to do with Corey is going to be pretty much married to the Louis Street project for a period of time, as well as other projects that DPW does, so he told us why he needs help, and this is some of the duties. Daily flow meter reading, the daily bar rack cleaning, that is if nobody knows what a bar rack is, it's,
I've seen them.
okay, you both know what they are?
Yep.
Changing the charts, I'm not sure what the charts are.
We might give Lynn a tour, though.
Well, if Lynn would like to see the toilet paper stuck on the bar rack, I'm sure
I would
she'd,
say, I'm not
sure
sure I
she'd love
want
to
to
go
know
down
what
there
it
and
is,
have a
but
look
it
at
doesn't
it.
sound like something I want to go for tomorrow.
Changing the charts is the flow meters at the pump
Flow
station.
meters, thank you. Cleaning and building maintenance, both inside and out on all the pump stations, mowing the lawns at the pump stations, snow removal, responding to trouble calls, this is an attempt to train someone to help Corey with night calls, so that Corey is not on call the 364 days a year.
That's customer trouble calls, right?
Right. Working independently on sewer inspections, assisting in sewer repairs, manage a yearly collection system cleaning, which is the thing we just finished doing. That includes logging all the manholes and the conditions of the manholes, assisting in the environmental reporting, scheduling repairs and regular maintenance for the pump stations, working with the contractors, assisting with the VACON, and being available for after-hour on-call duties.
13, that's contractors who are putting in development and new structures.
I think it would be both, David. I think it would be contractors who are doing sewer work where they pull a permit here in town, but it's also our contractors like Belmore Catch Basin Maintenance, or when Dino did some point repairs or fixed sewer covers for us. So I think contractors envelops both sides of the spectrum. So does anybody see anything on here that they have issue or questions with? You can bring it up to Corey at the next meeting. If anyone has anything that they'd like to add to the list, feel free to add it to the list, and we'll talk to Corey about it when we see him at our next meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
for the record, what I would want to see at the next meeting, this, in fairness to Corey, he's not here to explain, but when I see a lot of these things, what always concerns me with bringing a new position and asking the person that's currently working there to create this is, what does I understand the Louis Street is going to be married to that for a while, but that's not in perpetuity. There's going to be a time when that's over. I would like to know how his role, if at all, changes, or if he's looking at this, only because he's not here, are they sharing every single duty here? Are some of these things being put on the new person, period, and he's not doing them anymore? I would like to see what his role looks like during this project as well as after, and how having this new person affects.
I'll get a copy of his job description.
Yeah, that would be,
We have a formal job description for sewer foreman,
right.
so I'll get a copy of the job description.
And also, Louis Street is just next year, but we've scheduled out multiple streets
Sure.
years in advance.
We actually have-
Same sort of
We actually have
project.
6 more years, Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I want to go back to Dave's point quickly, just the working with contractors. But whenever I see any sort of general, like most of this seems fairly specific. When I see something general like working with contractors, I'd really like to get a breakdown of what that actually means and what this person will be
I'll
responsible for.
have Corey expand on that one.
It's, what is his authority to tell a contractor?
Right.
So, Lynn, could you make a note that number 13 on that list. Could you ask Corey to expand on that, please? Give us a fuller description of what he means by working with contractors. You can send that to him in an email at your convenience. Why don't you wait till he comes back? Don't send it to him until he comes back. I don't want him
We'll wait till
working
he
on it
comes
when
back.
he's with his family.
And he would probably, so
I
yeah,
know
we'll
he would.
hold off on that. Hopefully he's not watching this now.
No, he isn't watching this.
That's good.
I hope you're not watching it, Corey.
I think he's in Florida.
All right. Any more discussion on the potential hire duties? This was just for everyone to see. I know everyone got it in their email, but I thought it was important that we brought it to the public record tonight and opened it up. If anyone in the public wants to speak to this, we have public hearing at the next meeting. We'll carry this over to the next meeting. All right. Lynn, what else do we have to worry about now? We have budget presentation in this month. Is there anything else that's upcoming that we have for commissioners that is got to be reminded that we're going to be needing to do?
No. Sewer bills are going out hopefully on Monday. That's my plan, the 15th.
I would appreciate it if you could put together a calendar that's for your benefit, to know when we have to start these different processes. I'd like to start the budget a little
Yeah.
earlier next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I think we're busy with everything else and it kind of slipped through the cracks. So if you can set a calendar up for yourself that, begin budget in May, I don't care, pick a month.
Yeah.
So we have a better ability to wade through it. I know it's a pretty simple budget, but
No, that's fine.
there's always things.
Yeah.
And we asked you, Daniel, about, on this Riverview pump station, about these building. What kind of a building did you discuss with your engineering structural team for that Riverview? Is that a precast concrete building we were talking about?
There's a number of options available. We've looked at a few different ones. I think I've sent some information.
Well, I'll let you and Daniel correspond on that, and we'll get feedback from you maybe at the next meeting.
Yeah, I had an email from, what was it, White Mountain Precast, and they have the capability, but it would be like a 3 to 6 month backlog for them, so that'd be something to.
We also have to find a general
If they-
contractor.
Yeah,
And
and then, like, could Corey GC in?
No.
Or you guys?
No, I want a general contractor to oversee hiring the electricians, hiring everyone that has to do everything, and let them take on the responsibility and the liability of a problem 6 months from now. And we're not blaming Corey because he didn't watch the electrician tie the wire nuts on correctly.
Makes sense.
We're gonna pay a contractor whatever the percentage is, the 10 or 15% or whatever the going rate is. And we're going to have it, somebody to go back after, if something does happen. And we're not talking about Mike and his group or Corey, we're talking about a general contractor. That's my opinion. I would hope that we would all have something like that. All right, and David, what are you working on these days? He's working on the building, I'm working on the budget, what are you working on?
I'm retired.
Well, you getting Medicare instead of your sewer commission? All right, we're good. You're working on the Louis Street, that's right.
Yes.
You are working on Louis Street. Okay, folks, if there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned been made by David and been seconded by
Next
Daniel.
meeting is when?
The next meeting is December 14th.
All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, the motion passes. Thank you all for coming tonight.